All right, let's jump right in. Have you ever wondered what really makes an entrepreneur tick? It's so much more than just having a good idea, right? Today, we're going to dig deep and decode the DNA of a founder. We're talking about the mindset, the strategy, the sheer drive, everything that takes a tiny spark of inspiration and turns it into a thriving business. Let's do this. And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? What's the difference between a dreamer and a doer? I mean, we all have ideas floating around in our heads. So what's that secret ingredient? Well, the answer is entrepreneurship. Think of it like a bridge that connects a thought to something real you can actually see and touch. And today, we're going to walk you right across that bridge. So here's the plan. We'll kick things off by figuring out what an entrepreneur even is. Then we'll get into their head, decoding that entrepreneurial DNA. After that, we'll see how ideas become strategy and innovation. And finally, we'll connect it all to the bigger picture, building Thailand's future. Okay, first up, let's get to the heart of it. What does it actually mean to be an entrepreneur? Because it's way more than just a fancy job title on a business card. It's really about a specific set of roles you have to play. And this really breaks it down beautifully into three core functions. First, you've got the opportunity seeker. This is the person who's always scanning the horizon, looking for that new angle or unmet need. Then you have the risk manager, and this is key. They're not just gamblers throwing dice. No, they're more like skilled navigators carefully charting a course through uncertainty. And finally, and maybe most importantly, they are a value creator. They're the ones who take all the pieces and put them together to build something genuinely new and useful for people. All right, so we know what they do. But now let's go a level deeper and look at who they are on the inside. We're going to really try to decode their psychological makeup, that inner wiring, that DNA that really fuels the whole journey. So what are these core psychological drivers? This idea of DNA is just a perfect metaphor, isn't it? It suggests there are these fundamental internal traits that almost, hardwire someone for this kind of path. So let's unpack what those traits actually are. It really comes down to a powerful combo of these three things. First step is what's called an internal locus of control. It's a fancy way of saying you truly believe you are in charge of your own destiny. You're the captain of your ship. Success or failure rests on your shoulders, not just on luck. Second, there's a high need for achievement. This is that deep, nagging desire to hit your goals, to take responsibility, and to see tangible results from your work. And last but not least, a tolerance for ambiguity. Honestly, this one is like a superpower. It's the ability to make confident decisions and move forward, even when the future is foggy and nothing is certain. Now, what's super interesting here is this idea of push versus pull factors. You see, some people are pulled toward entrepreneurship. It's that fire in the belly, right? The desire to be their own boss, to make a real difference, or to contribute something to society. But then you have others who are pushed into it. Maybe they lost their job, or they're just completely fed up with their career path, or maybe an unexpected opportunity just falls into their lap. The fascinating thing is, it doesn't matter if you're pushed or pulled. Either path can absolutely lead to incredible success. Okay, so we've spent some time exploring the inner world of the founder, the mindset, the DNA. Now it's time to pivot. Let's look at how all of that internal drive gets translated into the external world of action. How does it become a real, breathing business with a solid strategy? It's not just about having a great idea and jumping in blind. No, it starts with these three really fundamental steps. First, you got to do your homework. You have to really understand the market and, more importantly, your potential customers. What do they actually need? Second, you have to go out and find resources and support. This is not a solo mission for sure. You need funding, you need mentors, you need advice. And third, you have to build your team. I mean, a brilliant idea is pretty much worthless without the right people to bring it to life. And this is a perfect example of how entrepreneurs think strategically. It's a classic SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, for a company wanting to break into Vietnam. And look how clear it is. They know their strengths: great tech, a strong R&D team. But they're also brutally honest about their weaknesses. They've got no distribution network there. They see the opportunities, like a favorable import policy, but they also see the massive threats: a competitor that owns 60% of the market and another that's 30% cheaper. This kind of honest, clear-eyed assessment is absolutely crucial. And all of that analysis, that SWOT, feeds right into this idea of a strategy funnel. I love this visual because it perfectly shows how you take a big, dreamy, high-level vision and you pour it into the top of the funnel. And as it goes down, it gets refined, layer by layer, until what comes out the bottom is a concrete, actionable plan. It's what turns changing the world into, here's what we need to do on Tuesday morning. But, a great strategy on paper means nothing if the company itself isn't aligned to actually do it. And that's where this model, the McKinsey 7S model, comes in. It shows how everything has to work together. You've got the hard stuff, the strategy, the structure, the things you can draw on a chart. But then you have the soft stuff, which is just as, if not more, important. The company's style, its skills, its staff. And look what's sitting right there in the middle, at the very heart of everything: shared values. If that core isn't strong, believe me, the whole structure just crumbles. So let's recap. You've got the mindset, you've got the strategy. But what's the real engine? What's the force that doesn't just let you play the game, but lets you change the rules entirely? Well, it's innovation. This is how entrepreneurs don't just compete, they completely reshape the entire economic landscape. And there's this incredible term for it: creative destruction. It sounds a little dramatic, I know, but it's so accurate. Just think about the perfect example: Netflix versus Blockbuster. Netflix didn't just offer a better video rental service. No, it completely destroyed the idea of a video rental store. It made the entire business model obsolete. That's not just outcompeting someone. That's literally rewriting the rules of the entire game. But, not every innovation has to be a world-shattering, creative destruction type of event. There are different flavors of it. And this framework, the Henderson and Clark model, is a super helpful way to classify them. It's all based on one simple question: are you changing the individual components, or are you changing how those components link together? Okay, so let's run through the 4 types real quick. First up, you have incremental innovation. This is the straightforward stuff. Think about making a computer chip just a little bit faster, or a phone battery last a little bit longer. Small, valuable improvements on what already exists. Next up is architectural innovation. The classic example is the Sony Walkman. Sony didn't invent headphones or cassette players. They took existing components but reconfigured them. They changed the architecture to create something totally new: portable, personal music. Genius. Third, we have modular innovation. This is when you keep the overall system the same, but you swap out a key component for something new and better. A great example is switching from an old analog display on a phone to a new digital one. The phone, it's still a phone, but a core module has been revolutionized. And finally, we have the big one: radical innovation. This is where everything changes, both the components and the system. This is the automobile replacing the horse-drawn carriage. It's not just a better way to get around, it's an innovation so profound that it literally reshapes cities, economies, and society itself. Okay, so we've seen how entrepreneurs think, how they act, and how they innovate. For our final piece, let's zoom out one last time. Let's look at why all of this matters on a huge national scale, specifically through the lens of Thailand's 4.0 economic goals. A lot of countries run into this problem called the middle income trap. Basically, they get stuck. They're no longer the cheapest place to manufacture things, but they haven't quite made the leap to being a leader in high-value, cutting-edge innovation. So how do you break out of that trap? Well, the answer is to build a value-based economy. And who drives that? Entrepreneurs, especially those in high-tech fields who can shift the entire country's focus away from just making things cheaply to creating unique, high-value solutions. So there you have it. We've gone on this incredible journey, from the deepest inner DNA of a single founder, all the way out to their impact on an entire nation's economy. We've looked at the mindset, the strategy, the tools of innovation. The whole map is laid out. So I guess there's really only one question left, and this one is for you. Now that you have the map, what are you going to build?